One crack news. What's cracking? For all my late bloomers out there, let's get it cracking. Now, what do we know? Donald Trump has scaled back and put some halts 13 hours after announcing that his tariffs were going crazy. Right? The market had a 1 day shot to the boost to the moon after making that announcement because the market was being destroyed. The Dow was at its all-time low. So everybody's like, yeah, market's back up. This is teaching Donald Trump a very valuable lesson. You cannot continue to go down this road. And the fact that we were right, for the people that came in the comment section, talking about you don't know what you're talking about. Wait to Trump do this, Trump do that. He halted the tariffs for 90 days because he knows he can't do he can't do all these tariffs at one time. You would crush the market. And then by the time you get the market back going, people have lost tens of thousands of dollars and they're going to hate you tremendously. So for you want 100 days to go by and people continuously losing money in the stock market, they will hunt you down. Believe me, you're not gonna survive that. The Republican Party wouldn't survive that. So keep telling people it's gonna be all right when they're seeing it not all right is not a good sign for them. American people don't have the patience to wait anymore. Not for 90 days. To them, that's a jail sentence of watching their money go down the drain. Now, here's what's very interesting. Because I want it to be known, and we just hit 10 million views on One Crack News, too. They just sent me a congratulations alert. So thank you to all of you guys who love the channel enough. We appreciate the love and support. Well, China and the United States are battling each other. Trump decided to raise the tariffs on China to 100 and what's he like 124%, something like that, some crazy ass number, 125. And China had upped theirs to 84% against the United States. And China's trying to show the United States they'll keep going and they can outlast you. Because see, Trump is trying to hit them enough where it hurts in the market where it would be close. He wants to even those numbers out. But China is like, our hurt, I'm a dictator. I don't care about the people's hurt. Like they can't vote me out of office. That's not happening. So, okay, we're gonna suffer for a little bit, but we'll be all right. What are the people gonna say about you and their suffering? Some people are gonna get voted out of office. And then they're gonna really have problems when they get out of the White House. Well, I understood exactly what Mr. Perfect was talking about. He's actually lost money dealing with China when China came with the WTO because Bill Clinton brought them to the table. And once they came to the table in 1996, China was introduced into the market, the World Trade table for the first time in ever, in like hundreds of years. China was normally cut off from the outside world for a long period of time. If you're a Patreon member of mine, you know about 4 years ago we covered this and showed you how China came into power. No one paid any attention to me. For some of them, My Patreons paid attention to me when I discussed this 4 years ago. Now everybody's starting to see, Carsino, you was right. You said by 2025, China's going to be the superpower. And America's not going to be the biggest as far as the money anymore. And as you can see, this is why the United States is ringing the alarm, because they realize they about to be number two. And grossly number two. So if we start falling behind the 8 ball, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So the United States is trying to find some way to turn this thing around, because we have been, for the past, I want to say, 2 decades, 20 years, everything started falling off. It's a decoupling of the economic system. And now the tensions between China and the United States are going head to head. They're playing a risky game of chicken, and there's no off-ramp in sight. You know, and this is the fate of Taiwan, the technology, the self-governing island claimed by Beijing. This trade fight is huge. Now, people are upset because China has continually broken a lot of laws, allegedly, in their WTO, their trade situation that they have in their economy. And they've taken full advantage of the WTO, not paying percentages, stealing IPOs, according to Mr. Wonderful. And he knows you can't, they have the law, you can't take them to court. They've done a lot. I know because of what happened with Yeezy. This is how I got introduced to it years ago. Kanye West Yeezy brand. This is how I got introduced to how China works, Michael Jordan, the whole situation with Jordan brand, the whole thing. When Kanye West got the Yeezy, he did not trademark the fashion. He thought it counted for all of it. It did not. It only counted and accounted for the shoes, not. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, Joe. They didn't account for the fashion part of it, the clothing line. So Yeezy, the name Yeezys and everything was taken from them, the IP address and all of it, and they have a Yeezy store in China. So Kanye West is trying to fight for that trademark, but they went and trademarked it in China, which you couldn't take it to court. You couldn't do it. You'll go bankrupt trying to fight China for that trademark for a Yeezy store, where it's fake Yeezys, fake clothes in China being sold, and they're manufacturing, shipping it everywhere, calling it Yeezy. Michael Jordan shoes, the Jordans. They got a logo of Michael Jordan's when it's wearing the 45. They use that image to make like fake Jordans and use that image of Michael Jordan. And in China, it was upheld when it was clearly, they showed the photo of Michael Jordan and the logo that they had in China of him doing a layup coming down the lane. And they're just making carbon copy shoes. And in China, they said, we don't see a problem. No carbon copy here. That's his patent. 2 different companies. So this is what Mr. Wonderful was saying, that they have been breaking the rules since they've been involved, like since they've gotten involved in the trade situation. China has. I've seen it firsthand just from those 2 companies. And following those 2 situations, I've seen how the exploitation was happening. And those are 2 black companies. Like 2 black people have that is the face of that, Michael Jordan and Kanye West. So if I'm seeing how that works with them, imagine what they feel like when their IP address for their businesses are being tampered with. And those are billion-dollar businesses. Can you donate? Yeah. You want to? My Cash App is Carceno, Karceno. The super chat button works here. It should. But thank you, Juan. Now, Trump has been doing a bit of an aggressive move, trying to do things all at once. And once you do everything all at once, you are expanding and leaving yourself thin in the middle. And that's where America's made a mistake. No one has ever done anything like this before. It's problematic. And to try to put this pressure or to call this bluff and saying we can last longer than them, they're going to be like, we're in a recession call and all this era is going on, and then everybody's going to be promoting panic, which will affect the stock market. Now, the stock market had a boost because he gave a halt for 90 days on some of the countries, so the stock went up. But that's a false reality, because we start this trade war with China, everything's going to start to go down. He's starting to realize that now, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's unrealistic. You're going to be losing trillions of dollars. So you ready to lose 12 to 18 trillion to say I got 7 trillion back of that 18 trillion. I'm just like, that don't make any sense. I gave the analogy of the average man going to the casino with $300. You go to the casino with $300, right? And then after you have the $300, you're waving the $300 around. Then out of a sudden, all of the blue, you lose. You get down to your last 20, then you win $200. You still lost for the night. You got some of it back, but you still lost. You didn't win anything. So at the end of this road, what's going to be accomplished? And like I said, even if Trump won, let's say Trump won, he got everybody to agree to his tariffs, right? They're not going to like you. None of them are going to like you. It's like you bullied them into this situation. So they're not going to like you. And they're going to be thinking of teaming up with other people now, who you probably forced them to have conversations with during these tariffs. And they're going to have a thing in common, us, the United States. They're not going to like us. And they're going to say, well, I don't like what they did. They did the same thing they did to me. Trump is just putting tariffs everywhere. And that is a man who is out of control, didn't know what he was doing, kept saying everything is everything. Don't worry, there's no panic. And then 13 hours later, there's panic. The growth in the inflation numbers, they're there. So you start seeing that. So some flexibility had to come out of Trump right away. So Trump panicked and went ahead and put a halt to his plans and froze up some of the tariffs for 90 days. I'm quite sure people called him. Well, he was receiving 75 phone calls per minute. That's how intense this was at the White House. People were losing revenue at a very high rate. Well, people got to look at this. This is trillions we're talking. We're in the market of trillions, not billions. So let's say, yeah, let's say there is a major market for this, right? Let's say the market is changing and it's booming, it's starting to soar, and people are starting to see the numbers jump up and down. So they start saying to themselves, okay, well, this is what's happening now. Let's say, let's get to 10%, right? Now, a 10% tariff rate could be negotiated away. If they do end up even at 10, it'll be one of the highest tariffs developed in the countries in the world, pretty much. So it's a massive, what they call delocation. I don't know what Wall Street have learned about how to, price and get through the day at a trading day. It's going to be a hard thing with possibilities to try to tweak the volatile nature of the market with a tariff. Even if it ends up at 10%, it'll still be one of the highest we've ever seen. Now, people are going to be scared and they're going to want to pull their money out of stock. So stockholders in these stock marketplaces is telling them, hey, stay in the market, stay in it. Well, if you lost 30, 40 grand, like some people that I know lost this amount of money just in their 401k savings that they've had for retirement, they've lost like 30 grand. They're, they have no choice. You're in for the ride now. So you might as well strap on in. It'll bounce back. You better hope it bounce back. It's not a guarantee that this is going to happen. And when people saying they're cutting Social Security, they're cutting all these federal government benefits, what is going to happen is you're going to be creating a civil war. You're going to create an anarchy within your own country. I'm a country supporter. I support our nation. I support people. I support everything that is going on that makes sense. Now, what doesn't make sense is the fact that our president of the United States of America, who was elected, um, announced all of these tariffs, and then 13 hours later, he sit there and hikes up China after Mr. Wonderful goes out and makes the statements he did about China. He decides to put a halt to a 90-day halt on most of the tariffs that he got out there. But on China, he's going to just increase it because that made the most sense. I guess he watched what Mr. Wonderful was saying and said, hey, that makes sense. Because he was like, I would charge China. He was like, I'll charge China 400% for what they've done. By the United States of America, 225% effective immediately. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have all called representatives of the United States, have authorized a 90-day pause. Yes, everybody called the United States. When you put tariffs on like every country in the world, you're going to have problems. So he realized the market value is scarce, and he's saying they want to negotiate and do this. And they said they've been overwhelmed by the response of most of their allies, and they want to negotiate in good faith. Well, okay. Well, let's see how this negotiation works. Let's see what's going to come out of it, because now you're going to look like a fool if you come out with 2 pennies. Because now the majority of the damage is done. So now Hyundai They're going to be hit with a tariff, and it's going to be 25% tariffs on Hyundais. And it's already hard to sell cars as it is. Now, the 25% tariffs on imported cars, this is going to affect things like the Santa Fe. People are just going to wait to buy a new car now. They're going to say, well, I'm going to wait and see what happens with these tariffs. Right. All the manufacturers on board, it's going to be pretty costly because imports from China to new tariffs coming around, and the tariff China rate jumped up to 125. China retaliated, put it at 84% for the United States. It is going to be a crazy up and down. And they keep saying, well, Trump's tariff is going to bleed China. It's not going to bleed China as much as we're going to bleed. And that's the problem, that most people they believe in celebrity, they believe in Trump over everything, and they're not seeing the numbers. Okay? Our seafood is key in the United States, and we get a lot of it from China. Now, do you want to mess around with that? People in Maine, all those rich folks over there who crabs, everything, fishing, all of it. That's all going to come to at a price that's going to be so expensive. Those guys are going to have to shut down. Yes, China is going to be hurt, but they're going to hit back. No, because all of the new tariffs that he got now, UK is at 10%, UE is at 20%, Japan's at 24. He put 124, 25 rather, on China. Vietnam is at 46. Taiwan, they're being taxed with a tariff at 32%. Korea, which is South Korea, of course, they're at 25%. So these numbers that you got that took effect, people are freaking out. Even at 10%, the UK is not going to be happy with this. So they made a change. Vietnam's now at 10, Taiwan's at 10. Everybody's been cut to 10 now. Vietnam's at 10, Taiwan's at 10, South Korea's at 10, Japan's at 10, EU's at 10, the UK is at 10 still, just stay at 10. But China's going to pay 125. 125% for China. Well, they depend on China because China have a lot of seafood. It's a lot of food over there in their waters. We've contaminated a lot of our waters. So it's they got the good stuff, in other words. You see their market, they stuff still be moving on the plate. They be eating squids and all that. Yeah, they eat all kind of crazy stuff. Still be moving around. Mm-hmm. Yes, that 10% is gonna be heavily waged. Oh yeah, they should definitely like this video. Oh yeah, China's gonna put levies on the United States, and they know where to cripple us. They know where and how to do it. So believe me, when you see the iPhone costing you so much money that Amazon packages is going to start costing you money. You're going to see everything that you're ordering from these deliveries. You're going to be paying more to have it delivered than what the item actually costs. That's going to be a problem. You're going to see your food spike back up to an all time high. And it's not going to make any sense for seafood to be, you know, marked up so high. Now, for probably the first 30 days, like Walmart is fighting to keep their prices low, other people are doing the same. Now, where there's a conflict of interest is everybody imposing their will at the same time. You have everybody trying to do the same thing. So they're saying they're working with 75 other countries to negotiate a trade deal. Okay, fruits, vegetables. People are going to farmers markets now to try to buy things. The main ingredient that people need is milk and eggs. And when the milk and eggs are going up, you're going to have problems because now these bullying practices is what China is calling it, and they will not back down to a bully. These tariffs and these tactics that have been put in place are now going to start to bring forth a situation that's not going to be ideal. Well, Japan's nickel, the 225 index, is up by more than 7%. Um, the market reaction to this announcement is people are feeling like, okay, we're good. So the numbers are going to shoot up. But with this war with China, it's going to go right back down. They're doing this to try to fix the market because stock market was, you know, people got scared immediately. American is the most scared place in the world. They feed you nothing but fear. Be scared of this. Be scared of that. Be scared of this. Look out for this. Look out for that. Scared, scared, scared. They want you to be scared for your whole life. Be scared. The market's booming is a false reality. That's just people being excited because they needed something to be said that's going to look like it's turning things around. So it caused the numbers to jump up to a record high in one day. But what did I tell you? You lose so much and then you get a little bit back and you think you won. No, you're still down. And the USD is going to be down. Okay? So understand this doesn't mean that there's an appetite for a fight in Beijing, right? The policymakers, they've been preparing this scenario for a second Trump rollout, all out trade war for years. They known that they were going to get in bed and go to war with China, and when they got into the office, right? Now what is this? All you people have been buying Chinese cheap goods. Now they're like, wait a minute, this is going to be a problem. Well, see, here's what the problem that the United States is going to have, right? You see, they can't do what China can do in the market. Chinese, let me tell you what the Chinese does, and I think Donald Trump needs to hear this as well. American consumers are completely different from Chinese consumers and how the Chinese think, right? So let me roll this out for y'all. It's a simple calculation, right? The United States needs China more than China needs the United States. And I'm just telling you right now. American consumers aren't going to buy Chinese goods, cheaps, and all that stuff. They're going to buy it from American farmers who aren't going to sell to China, where they're going to sell to, thinking that the Chinese manufacturers can sell to our own vast domestic market. They can sell to other countries. Can the United States do quite the same? I don't think so. So we're going to see how much of this plays out. Basically, when it's underpinned, Trump's entire philosophy in the first place to the United States that China, they're going to cave, and he's going at them with a sledgehammer tariff and all of this stuff, the measurement, all this resolution for at least 90 days. The Asian countries, with the big exception of China, all the regional economy, world economy, when it comes to the United States trade policy, we're ready for war. Well, you got Asia, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, many of those people who were allies to the United States, right? They're big investors there. They're in shock. In the receiving end of all of this government stuff, who are hoping for a broker a good deal within these 90 days. Well, the Japanese government couldn't quite believe it, meaning their position where we were the biggest investors worldwide into the United States. This is really how you treat your biggest investor in the country? You hit them with a tariff? Now, how do you think Japan's going to feel? They're going to feel betrayed. They have a thing called honor. So, yeah, they take things to heart when they feel like they've extended themselves. So manufacturing is part of their economy, but another problem is that China isn't able to sell to the United States, where it's going to be, where it's going to sell, it's going to start dumping a lot of cheap goods into other countries, like a secondary ricochet effect. So this trade war is going to lead to manufacturers in places like Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Thailand. All these other people are bracing themselves for an influx of the goods and stuff like that coming from China and domestic manufacturing jobs. So Europe is embracing themselves for a secondary effect as well. People are preparing for what's going to happen in a trade war. So it's going to be a whole ranging effect of knockoffs everywhere. Everybody's gonna get knockoff Prada, knockoff Louis. It's gonna be fake stuff everywhere now. The fake is gonna roam. Mm. Oh, the real reason behind it? Well, a lot of people can put their theories to it, but the theory is this, and I want people to understand it and hear it clearly. Um, as a foundation, as everything that's been announced. The United States put a lot of work into this thing, and what it comes down to is that the U.S. Treasury Department, mainly the Republicans, um, they saw the U.S. Treasury Secretary, what's his name, Scott Bessent. They raised concern with Trump's over the economic officials briefing him of sell off of U.S. Treasury market, right? The Treasury bonds. So when the Treasury bonds are being sold off, that is huge. So that's why he did we're going to put a 90-day halt on all this stuff. You cannot go out and do that, because if people start selling off the US Treasury bonds, buddy boy, you don't know who got them. And that's going to be hard. You don't want the US Treasury bonds to go. Now, the US Treasury market is a whole different ball game. President ain't got no power there. So the Treasury Department had some problems. The bond market was the only factor that made Trump hit the pause button on these tariffs. So don't believe it's any other thing but that bond market, because that's exactly what made him say, put the brakes down. Government bonds are huge. In the UK, they call gilts. Um, Government bonds, they build dams, infrastructure projects, roads, schools. You need those type of infrastructure facilities. Those are huge. And if you don't have them, you can't do these things that you want to do. The United States, we have the Treasury. And India is called GSECs, but the UK is called gilts. Yes, I have some schooling. You learn about this stuff in grammar school, at least eighth grade. At least I don't know about the educational system now, but we definitely weren't learned about this my junior year. What's the concern for the Treasury Department? A 10-year Treasury yield surge up to 4.5% or higher. That's the steepest single day rising since what was the government shutdown in like 2008, the real estate crisis. The rise in yield is a direct result of a massive sell-off in treasury bonds, which will demand bonds to fall. The price drop and the yield would make it more inverse to prices to increase. So when you see the treasury yield go upwards, that means people are selling, and that ain't good. You don't have to believe me. Go look at the US 10-year Treasury. It'll tell you right there. In the market, you'll see exactly where it is. When you start to see that little bit of surge, people are starting to, you know, dip into the bag and start selling stock and selling bonds. They're trying to get out now. This whole trade war thing, they don't see this thing getting better. And when Americans get scared, they panic and make mistakes and they start getting rid of everything. Treasury yields and influence everything from mortgage rates, uh, business loans. You want to borrow money from the government? I don't think you can. Increase your borrowing costs for the governments and consumers, put pressure on the banks, signal a loss of confidence in the fiscal trade system of the United States, policies. It's so vast that it doesn't even matter what you keep saying and you think you could do. You just, given the escalation in the tariffs, you know, China is going to retaliate, and China holds about $850 billion in US debt. 850 billion. So that drives bond prices down even further. That raises the yield even more. So signal a trade war with somebody you owe 850 billion to. I'll be like, mother, nigga, you owe me. What you mean, pay you this? You owe me. You still ain't kicked in on this 850 billion you owe me. So you want me to pay you more money to pay me. That's how China feel. Charge large scale selling is a problem too for the United States. You see, with China's large scale selling, that could trigger uh, a whole shutdown of the Treasury system. It would make it more expensive for the United States to finance its deficits, which means buying bailouts, and the government is going to reprint more money, which is already ballooning due to the increased military and infrastructure spending. So without the increased military and infrastructure spending that they do, that's based on you know, the bond system. So if the Treasury is hurt, then what's going to happen? It's going to slow down all the people trying to borrow money from investments. It's going to drag on the GDP growth. It's going to start rising bonds that's rippling through higher interest rates, corporate debts, mortgages going to skyrocket, credit cards. Ain't going to be getting those. The bank exposure, many banks hold treasuries at safe assets. If bond prices fall fast, it's going to lead to a market loss affecting the bank capital, the stability. The stock market is going to be volatile. The SP 500 rose up on the tariff relief thing that Trump just said. Any little thing to make it fall back down again. It's going to be jittery due to these interest rates and all the fears that they got in America. The high tariff on China will raise consumer goods. We already know that's happening. And it puts the Federal Reserve in a bind between fighting for inflation and supporting the growth in this country. And that's where we at right now. We're gonna be just fine, Carson. You said that yesterday. In 13 hours, Trump changed his mind. Because the people around him said, nigga, change your mind. Now. You do this, and this ain't gonna last 7 days. You better change direction right now. We're doomed. Pretty much. We're doomed. So we got to start preparing now. People, I'll tell you, people are buying out the stores, though. These canned goods are flying off the shelf. You can't get anything no more. I'm like, damn, I can't even get a can of beans. What we're going to see, a very stagnant market, which means low growth, high inflation. And when everybody's shifting to short term cash and they want clarity, the foreign governments are watching how the U.S. handle the situation, especially Japan. And they, the UE, everybody there, they hold large amounts of the U.S. debt also. So the U.S. owe everybody. And they the ones sitting here trying to call some goddamn shots. That's like weird. That's like people that owe me money walking around here like they don't. It's like, okay, that's crazy. Really crazy. People owe you money and trying to dictate shit to you. It's like, huh? Nick, China they got 850 billion of the United States debt. It'd be like, how dare you say this to me? When you know I will kill you for it. How dare you say this to me? They'd be like, all right, well then pay me my money then, nigga. That's how I feel. Pay me my money. Then you could start talking this dumb shit to me. But if you owe debt to me, what are we talking about? Yep. So I'm out. Love, peace, and hair grease. Don't forget to support my Patreon, which is Carcino for Life. Go over there and you'll learn a lot more than what we just gave you today and what's actually going down here. My quantitative, he's from India. Doesn't mean that he knows everything and he's smart. He's just from India and he knows everything and he's smart. So he's giving financial advice yet again. I told y'all, I find smart people and follow them around. We didn't have college back in my day. Had to find smart people and follow them around. So that's what we did. We found smart people and followed them around. Don't forget to support Kwame Brown Bus Life. And I'm out and I use Samsung phones, not Apple phones. I know iPhone for me. I'm out, baby. Samsung all day. Peace.